You are infinitely loved by an infinite God. Everyone you love is infinitely loved by an infinite God, way more than you could ever love them. Everyone you hate is infinitely loved by an infinite God, way more powerfully than you could ever hate them. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Love Your Unlovable podcast. I'm your host, the wildly unlovable, yet infinitely loved Eileen Chevalier.
So I wrote down some things, but do you have any more questions?
Do I have any more questions? No, all my questions have been answered.
Oh, good.
I'm kidding. No, I don't have any. Like, a lot of the other questions I had written down, we actually covered.
Okay, yeah. All right, so the first thing I wrote down was, is it okay if I just launch into it?
Absolutely.
Okay. The first thing I wrote down was, going back to friendships, I think I felt played. Like, I've never been played in a relationship, per se.
Yeah.
In a romantic relationship, but there have been tons of times where I've thought that we were such good friends. And most of the time what happens is that, to me, they are like one of my best friends. But
Right.
I am never of the same value to them.
Right.
Like, one really clear example is someone we'll call Bridget.
Okay.
Bridget. Someone we'll call Bridget. So Bridget, I just thought Bridget was my best friend. Like, she was the new girl, and I was, like, so excited to meet her, and I was often the new girl, so I, like, eventually when I became not the new girl in middle school at church, I was, like,
Welcome.
I was the welcome party.
Yeah.
And, like, the youth leaders would bring me over to new people and be like, hey, is this someone new? Meet Aubin. And, like, I would greet, like, when I met my friend who I'm still friends with, I was like, hi, oh my gosh. And everyone, except for me, looked surprised. And they were like, do you already know her? And I was like, no, but I will.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was not Bridget. When I met Bridget, it was the same. I was like, hey, it's so nice to meet you. Like, we're da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then fast forward, we become friends, and I'm like, wow, she's one of my best friends. Like, we talk about super deep spiritual stuff together. I'm growing so much as a person, and she's right there with me. We do, like, we were gonna go lead, like, youth groups in Romania together as a mission trip with our youth leader. And then I should have seen the signs, but I didn't. I finally realized, eventually, when I hadn't heard from her so it was before the trip, I was like, hey, I'm leaving. I don't know if I'm ever coming back to North Carolina.
Yeah, we didn't at the time. We didn't know. Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I really want to see you before I leave. I'm trying to see everyone that I love here, so can I see you? Can we set up a time? She didn't reply for weeks. And I was like, hey, I'm leaving in a few weeks, and I do not know if I'm ever coming back. Please, can I see you? And she was like, oh yeah, of course. Then we meet up, and we start talking, and it's fun at first. And eventually she's, like, telling me about what's happened. She's had a boyfriend. She's already broken up with him. And she was telling me about her school and how hard school is for her. And she was like, but of course, I still make time for my friends in the evening. Like, I always make sure that I call and text my friends. And I was like, well.
Wow. You're like, so basically you just told me I'm not one of your friends because you haven't
I emailed
made time.
You maybe 3 times. It might have been another time before that I was leaving and not coming back to North Carolina.
Well, you are a liar, so.
That's true. But
Fair.
I did not know if I was coming back.
No, just.
At the time, it looked like we weren't.
Oh, yeah. I sometimes I wonder, I don't understand why we're here, but, here we are.
Yeah. And like you still didn't answer my first message.
Yeah.
Or my second. And there were some other things too.
I think it's easier to be friends with people who are like in your face every day. Like that's why I think relationships are really easy when you're in school because
Yeah.
first of all, you're all trauma bonded. And second of all, they're just there every day.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to, there's that consistency that happens.
For
that's
sure.
harder to happen
Yeah.
with someone who, I mean, we weren't even living in the same area. I mean, we were like probably an hour and a half from her at that point in time. So it was just harder to see each other and have shared experiences, which is...
For sure. I guess another thing that like would make me mad is that I was never that person. Like I was never the person that was with them through stuff.
Well, I think
like,
there were other things that had happened before that were... okay, so let's talk about popularity for a second.
Oh yeah,
no, because I think that really played into that relationship.
I think it did.
Which is popularity is something that I just like super do not understand. Like, what does that mean? How does someone become popular? Like, clearly, I haven't figured it out yet, which is why I'm not very popular. But also, like, what does it mean? Like, how meaningful is it? But I think people put so much value on this exterior affirmation that they abandon, like, true good things in pursuit of a false metric that seems shiny, you know?
Yeah.
It's like...
Well, and it feels welcoming.
What do you mean what feels
like
welcoming?
if you get into that, like, clique or that group, then if you're searching for approval, then being welcomed into that group, because it's hard, feels like such...
Oh, is that what it is? It's just hard to get into that group.
Yeah,
and we aren't popular because we love everyone. So what we should do is exclude people so that we could become popular.
But that's not... that is not... That is, Mom, that's not the opposite of the message of love your unlovable.
I know.
Yeah, no, I feel that even now, like, sometimes I hang out with people who, I get it, they are toxic and broken, and they make my other friends uncomfortable. But I don't hang out, I'm not trying to make my friends uncomfortable. I'm just trying to like, hang out with...
You just love people.
They also have stories, so I like listen to the stories of children who have literally been in and out of psych wards. And like, yes, they do have a lot of trauma, and it's kind of hard to be around them sometimes, but like, they're valuable. Like, their stories are valuable. I like being able to hear them and understand. And I'm sorry that bothers you. But I'll try not to like, if that is too much for you, you don't have to do that. I'm not gonna like rope you into that. But I need you to respect that I am going to do that.
Absolutely, because that's who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it also goes back to like how precious things are when you have little of them or don't have a lot of them.
Yeah.
And how what gets taken for granted.
Yeah.
And then what gets valued because of its scarcity. So I'm teaching art this year, and we talk a lot about art. And it's been really interesting to talk about the value of artwork. And when artwork is valuable, why it becomes valuable, how, like, what are the things that people do to make something valuable? What are the stories we tell about people that make them more or less interesting, and thus their work more or less interesting? And what's the motivation for that? Like, why would we tell these stories to make something more valuable? And I think it's all really, in the end, pretty selfish, because it's like, oh, I want you to think that this is valuable because this is the thing I own. This is the thing I can carry around. And so I think there can be just a lot of pressure in that. Like, if you are accepted into this crowd of people, then are they really accepting you? Or are they putting you on display as a trophy of theirs that you have to like then maintain some sort of nonsense in order to stay in that group? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I
I
just don't
definitely
know.
became the thing she didn't choose. And I think when it came time to pick between the friends she had, and I wasn't the only one. I was just the one that had been with her the longest at that point in time.
And the friends who were.
And the people who...
So
I
maybe
don't
this
know
is
what to
more like
call it.
love your unlovable friendship.
I guess. You just fall in love with your friends sometimes.
True. This is true.
True.
Well, I think if you don't kind of fall in love with everyone, then, I mean, what's your relationship like?
There's this great quote in Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wayne. Wayne? I don't know. It's like falling in love, meeting your best friend. And that is just a platonic best friend relationship in that book, but it is so beautiful. We have to read Codename Verity at some point.
What's the quote?
I read it in Paris. The quote is, "It's like falling in love, meeting your best friend."
So, like, meeting your best friend is like falling in love?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Such an amazing book. It's not quite Book Thief, but it is
really good.
Really good.
Nice. Well, here's the thing about friendship. And we should do something about friendship more in depth. I'm the worst friend ever. Like,
not to me.
That's because I live with you. Oh my gosh.
That is true. That is
so
true.
easy.
You do live with me.
If you ever move out, I'll be the worst friend ever.
I think,
and
but
you'll
then
be like,
I would call you Mom.
Who?
I'd call. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Mom won't be the one. Well, it would be like, when did I last call my daughter? Instead of being like, oh, I gotta call Mom, I'll be like, hi Mom, how's it going? How's life?
I'll be like, are you calling me again? Didn't we just talk 2 weeks ago? Like, what is your problem? No, I just
live such an exciting life, Mom. It'll be
no,
exciting.
I love you. I love being with you. I want to eat dinner with you every day.
Yeah.
But I also have like a really high need
For a long time.
to be alone.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like on the cusp of like falling apart every day.
I know.
Teaching is super hard.
Yeah.
Because I have to see so many people. And like what I like to do in the morning is be alone. For extended amounts of time. But that's not how school works. So I think sometimes rejection from other people, not necessarily Bridget, but like I know that I've done this with people where it probably feels like I am doing the thing that Bridget was actually doing, where she's like pulling away and not wanting to actually be your friend anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just doing that because I can't handle any more. Like for 3 years, this is the third year I've been teaching, and it is like literally overwhelming. I don't think that I've seen my in-laws the entire time. Have I?
You have not?
Like, haven't. Did I say
That's not true.
Did they come here one time?
They came here.
Okay, they came here. But I haven't been able to even wrap my head around making that trip because I would have to see so many people, and I just
It's
can't
always chaotic.
handle it. It's so hard, and it's not like I just hung out with a friend of mine recently, and it was so fun and wonderful. But also, like not texting because it was like hard, but just like all I want to do is go outside and work in the yard because I think it's because it's like pretty much guaranteed alone time.
Yeah, I mean...
Like no one wants to come work in the yard with me, which is really weird. I'm like, love shoveling mulch is like my favorite thing.
I know.
I mean, it physically feels amazing,
Yeah.
but I think it emotionally feels amazing too. So I think for me to be honest about like, hey, I'm going to need some serious away from you time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I don't love you.
Yeah.
That's just part of who I am as a person. I think sometimes we because we can't be honest about those things because it's like there's a type of person that's okay to be, and everyone's like, oh, this is like the perfect kind of person, and we're not open to the fact that everyone has pros and cons to them, and there's a wide range of healthy person. I think that it makes it difficult for us to accept those things about ourselves and express them in a way that's like normalized instead of like, oh, they're not making time for me or they're not doing whatever, like all these judgments that we make about other people, and then the assumptions that we make about them based on what they're doing. Like I think, like with David, I think maybe David has so many needs for like processing that aren't necessarily getting met, but that if they were being able to get met, what he would be able to give, because I think one of the things he said to you was like, I can't give you what you want.
Yeah.
Which I think is really amazing and honest.
Oh, no. It was, yeah, no, like, it was so healthy that he did that.
So healthy and brilliant.
I can appreciate that so much more now.
Yes.
Like, thank you.
And it's important for us to know ourselves and know, like, okay, this is what I can give and this is what I can't give. But it's not because of you. It's because this is how my brain works and how my body works and how I'm making up for whatever and processing.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like.
And it's not always going to be the same. Like, don't think, like, if it's processing past things, then once you kind of start down that road of processing them, it's not going to take over you the same way.
But I mean, for me, like, it's not even just processing.
No, for you.
It's really just like, I am very introverted.
Yeah. And I think one thing that my friend who I'm still with from the period of time around Bridget, we both had super introverted moms. So we could both really bond over the fact that our moms were super introverted. I remember we were both in Bible study together, and it was like, so what do you do when your parents are down? And we were both like, we just leave them alone. We don't talk to them. And my friend is also very introverted, so she herself is also like, I get it. Like, because I'm friends with you, it's so much easier for me to be friends with her.
Yes.
Because I'm like, okay, I know what you need. It is time for me to go because you've had enough, and you're gonna go be quiet for a little while, and I'm gonna remove myself.
Yeah.
And it's like we both understand what it's like to have moms who need a high degree of alone time.
Yeah.
And yeah. I remember recently I was decompressing with a friend, and she's a little bit like Ella in that she does not hold back anything, which is one of the reasons I love her so much. She just, like, tells you whatever she's thinking in the exact words she thought it in.
Yes, I love that.
And so I was telling her about this friend, and she was like, well, like, why are you so upset? Like, it sounds like she was being shallow.
Wait, you were telling her about Bridget?
I was telling her about Bridget. Okay. And she was like, it sounds like she was being materialistic and shallow, but, like, why is it inciting this reaction in you? It sounds like...
You shouldn't have cared.
Well, she was like, well, why did it hurt you so much? Like, it doesn't sound like she wasn't being your friend. And I think it's not that she wasn't giving me enough time. Because it's like, I didn't actually spend all that much time with her after I left church. Because I didn't, but I still really loved her.
You felt the same.
I felt the same.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, I totally love you. I haven't seen you in years.
The difference it wasn't that she wasn't giving me what I needed or what I wanted. The difference was that I realized that I truly did not mean very much to her.
Right.
Like, she makes time in the evening for her friends. I'm not one of those people. She goes to their birthday parties, and she doesn't come to mine or invite me to hers.
But
what?
She could be doing all of those things just for appearances and just for checking boxes so that she stays in the group and she doesn't actually love them.
Well, yeah, that's a high possibility, but it's still...
I'm just saying time and, like, doing things and, like, going to the things doesn't mean you love them.
No, and it's not about, like, do you love them more than me? It's, like, just do you
Love me.
appreciate like what we have, like the relationship we have? It sounds like you don't.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because of past trauma with other friends that I got so upset.
Maybe.
And that is truly possible.
But I also, like, I think that David said this thing about friendship and like not talking to someone for a while and then getting to a point where it was like, oh no, what if I there's like a time at which you're like, do I contact them now? And then it's like, I've been ignoring you for a long. Do you remember having this conversation? I feel like we had this conversation with him.
Was I there?
I feel like we had this conversation with him.
We had this conversation.
I mean, I don't think it was a conversation with just me and him.
There weren't a lot of those.
So I think it's like, I think there is a thing that happens. And I think it's not just him. Like,
That's
I think
true.
it's like common where it's like,
I totally get that.
they're going to think I'm weird for like calling them up now. And I should have called them up before. And then I feel really bad about not, calling them all the time. So I should have called them. And I mean, I totally get, like, I feel that way with people right now.
Yeah.
But also, at the time, it's just like, I can't, like, the amount of functioning that's available to me when I get home at the end of the day every day is so, like, almost none.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even really have enough to give to you guys. I just fall asleep when we are hanging out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just shut down. Mm-hmm. And that's you guys, And so then it's like, I don't know. And I feel like I have historically been like a super horrible friend because the only people I've been friends with are people who pursue me because that's just so much easier. Mm-hmm. Right? But then the amount we pursue each other as we get older, just because you have lives and children and jobs and, there's just a lot of other factors. And as you move physically farther away from people, it gets harder. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like I haven't done a good job of making the effort. And so it's very difficult for me to like ever judge other people and like judge their motivations with friendship because I'm like, well, maybe they really totally love you, but they just like can't physically work it in. Like they're just overwhelmed. And if she's in school and school's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of other friends she's trying to manage, like maybe there's just not a lot of bandwidth there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she loves you more than you know. Or maybe she loves you more than she knows. Maybe there's a difference between feeling love and being love in the world. Like actually like doing the things that are loving. Mm-hmm. Because I'm really good at like feeling love. I'm really bad at like doing love.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's something that I am processing. Definitely influenced by previous friendships.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to do that with current friendships. Like, we talk in current friendships about, like, being real friends with each other, not just...
Yeah, but, like, what does that even mean? Here's what I want. I want some people, like, okay.
Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Well, yeah, that's what I do. So, if you're in a romantic relationship, what you want is to be with that person, right? You want to build a life with that person. You want to see that person regularly,
Yeah.
like very regularly.
Yeah.
You want to see them probably every day. I mean, maybe you travel for work or whatever, but you want to experience life with them.
Yeah.
And I think this whole world system is really difficult for me. When you were a baby, I designed E-Town. I designed a town. We called it E-Town because my name's Eileen. Because we only had one car. Mike would go to work. I'd be all alone. We lived out pretty far from anything at the time. And it was hard. I was alone. Oh my gosh, you were so extroverted. I could not handle it. Mike was like, why don't you sleep when the baby sleeps? I'm like, because it's my only alone time. I mean, as exhausted as I am, I just need to be alone more than I need to sleep, which is saying a lot when you have a newborn.
Yeah. I was an extroverted baby.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I was like, how soon can we have another child for her to play with? But I am not super interested in... Okay, what I am interested in...
Yes.
Let's do it that way.
Yes.
What I am interested in is living, like actually living with people that I care about and having a life with them. Not like we get together and
try and catch up
and like do a thing every now and then, but like we actually live in community together. And I think there's a lot of like fake community happening in a lot of churches. Like we'd have community groups. They're not community groups. You get together at somebody's house and talk about your random lives that have nothing to do with each other. Like that's not living in community. Living in community is what happens in my house matters to your house. You know, like when you live in a neighborhood, if somebody is, for instance, there's this house that I was like, yes, let's move to this house. So we go look at this house. Next door, there's like 5 drug deals went down, I think, while we were there looking at the house.
Oh.
And the guy who owned the house, he was an older gentleman, seemed very friendly. He was like, my grandson has so many friends. I was like, no, he doesn't. Those are not his friends. But that matters. Like if we lived there, that would affect, you know, me wanting to send my little kids to play in the yard. Like where we ended up moving, you were like always wandering around the neighborhood playing with friends. And, but if you're worried about like, I don't know, do these people, are they going to be watching out for my kids? Are they going to be are my kids going to be in the way? Are they going to not want them to like intrude and get nosy and come up and say hello? You know, I mean, I have no idea. I don't want to judge these people, but I'm just saying it wasn't like, hey, come over, let's play. It was like, there's business happening, which is just a different vibe. And we think that we want to live in community with people, but do we really want to live like we want to be friends with people, but like, what does that mean? And so I think what I want in friendship is something that I can't even physically have right now. And so I think part of me just like shuts down. It's like if I were in I was so ready to get married when I was 14. But if, let's say, you were in high school and you were like, okay, what I want is to be married and have a house and have these kids and like do this thing with someone. And that physically isn't going to happen because I'm in high school. So then you just kind of like shut that down and you're like, I can have a fake boyfriend relationship or I can like, because I can't have the thing I really want. And I think I am not good at having the thing I don't really want. With me, it's all or nothing, baby.
It's all
like,
or
I
nothing.
just really want it to be super good. And I think it's hard for me to be like, yeah, this is good enough.
I've been thinking about that recently.
So I don't know, like, how that would or could ever happen. But, man, it would be really great. And that's definitely what I want with everyone that I love. And maybe I love that quote is so good. Like meeting a friend is like falling in love, or what was it?
It's like falling in love, meeting your best friend.
Yeah. Like I want to have that, like, let's just be in love with each other. That doesn't mean you have to have sex with everyone, but like truly loving the people around you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's what I really want. And it's tricky.
Yeah.
Because, you know, especially when you have neighbors, they're going to do stuff that you don't like. And there they are. They're right there. Anyway. So how do you navigate those relationships? But at some point, someday, I want to have that.
I think it's really cool that we're talking about friendship now. I've been processing a lot about friendship over the past year, 2 years, since we kind of came back, lived here.
You got a bunch of new friends.
New friends, and been processing old friendship stuff, and also making new friends. And it's like, yes, these people are imperfect. And they push my buttons. And I disagree with them on so many levels. But I love them.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the part that matters. Like, it's not, and I think we're getting to a new level of friendship. We're not there yet. And I can't wait to, like, see what happens next.
I think you are starting to, like, get to a point where you're comfortable with each other enough to say what you really think.
Yeah, and that's starting to happen, and... Ooh. I thought of something that I could read. But it's in a different notebook. I have 3 notebooks and a computer with me, but it's in a different notebook.
Well, I think we should do a whole nother one on friendship.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to save the stuff we just did? Okay.
No, that can be like because I think you can be heartbroken by your friends.
Yes.
For sure. I mean, you cried over your friend, but you didn't cry over the guy that you were... You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they were the same person. I was crying over the same person.
What?
It's always crying about David. It was just... I was not crying that he didn't love me. I was crying that I thought maybe we weren't friends.
I thought you were talking about Bridget. And you were crying about Bridget.
Oh, no, I was also crying about Bridget. I started crying in the David section, then continued. But it started when I was saying I got the text, and it was like something that made me think of something that we were...
I didn't remember it that way.
Oh, it's okay.
It's okay. I often don't remember things the way they actually happened. My life is an illusion.
So there was, like, another thing I wanted to say was that when I was crying in the car on the way home, from Momo's and Papa's, mostly I was thinking about David.
When? What day is this?
It was it was before I left for Paris. It was before I even got the job to go to Paris, I think. I had done an interview for this job in North Carolina. It had gone really well, but I hadn't heard anything, and I was kind of coming to realize that I would maybe be at home by myself, like just working on my book by myself, alone.
Yeah.
And like I hadn't heard back from him, and I think I was just really, I felt so very, very isolated. And I wouldn't have a car either, because you would have the car and Hank would have the car to get to school, so I would be in the house
alone with no way of leaving. Sounds like a dream to me.
It's a nightmare. Nightmare. No. And one of the reasons I had to go to Paris, I just had to be around people. Even if there were people I didn't know. I was in a house with a family I had never met before, except for online.
Yeah.
And what was I saying? Oh, yes.
You were crying.
So I was crying, and I was talking to God, and kind of this image played out in my head, and it was like me holding my heart, and like my hands are trembling, and I'm kind of like trying to put it into David's hands, but his hands are fragile. They're also shaking, and he drops it. And I think about that with other people as well. It's like, it's not maybe that you don't want to hold it. It's not maybe that you don't want to have it.
But
it's that you can't hold it.
But it's not ours to hold. Like, I don't know. Like, okay. So, for instance, I lecture my students constantly. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why are you... I'm trying to give instructions about this assignment. If you're talking while I'm giving the instructions, you are putting your friend in a really unfair situation.
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is you can either hear the directions and do the assignment, or you can listen to me. And you have to choose. Do you choose listening to what you're supposed to be doing, or are you choosing listening to me because I'm right here, and if you ignore me, I'm going to think you're dorky and say mean things about you and be really sad or whatever, right? And that's not fair to your friend.
No.
It's not fair to the people around you to make them have a choice that's an untenable choice. Like, that's just not fair. Don't make them choose. But I think you're doing the same thing, babe. I think you're saying, hey, here's my heart. Hold it. It's an unfair thing to ask.
It is.
No, hold it, and then you let it just exude from you, and you let theirs exude from them. I mean, holy moly, why would you want to be responsible for someone else's heart? No, thank you.
No. Yeah.
You gotta just, like, be your own people, like, even forever. Like, I think even in relationship, you have to maintain your own
You can't say I love
authority.
you without saying I.
Yeah. Well, and you can't, I mean, you can, but I think it's unfair to expect someone else to take care of your heart. I mean, I did that a lot with Dad. I was like, I need you to convince me that I'm lovable, which is totally unfair for me to ask of him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of things that were totally reasonable that he also didn't give me, but it was unfair for me to demand that someone else take care of my heart.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think what I mean by heart is not my emotional well-being. It's a piece of my love. It's like I want to give it to you. And a lot of people I've met just decide not to or cannot hold even, like, small
But what
pieces.
do you mean by hold? Like, what are you expecting of them?
It's a good question. Well, it's easier to say for Bridget. Like,
Yeah.
I expect you to well, I guess with that, it's actually not as easy as I thought. Because I thought she was my best friend because I didn't have that many best friends. So to me, she was my best friend.
Right.
I was not her best friend because she had other friends who were better to her, and she saw them more often. So
what do you mean by better to her?
I don't know. She liked talking to them more.
Okay.
What was my thought?
Sorry.
Okay, yes. So, I have come to realize that it was unfair for me to expect her to be my friend, just because, to me, she was my best friend at the time. And I was so thankful to have her. I was like, I am so thankful that she is my friend, and that we can talk about these really deep things, and I can share my emotions with her, and I can, like, she can share them with me. But if I was never, like, that much of a friend to her, then I guess there is no reason why she would, like, do that for me. And I think that kind of leads me to another thing I wanted to get to. That was, like, I think probably the hardest thing about friendships and being in love is, like, when do I realize that I am being something of an emotional idiot? And just an idiot in general. It's like, well, yeah, of course Bridget was never my friend. Like, there were signs and I didn't see them. Or I just chose to ignore them. Or, like, it's like, how much, like, when do I stop thinking, making up, fantasizing about these friendships that are not real to these people? And I think that was probably one of the hardest things about telling David that I loved him. It was like, I know that I'm being a fool right now. I fully know that. Unlike with Bridget. And I hate that. Because it feels like getting played again.
But you're willingly loving them. They're not making you.
I know.
But we need people to love. I mean, I think that as humans, we need people to love, and we need to be loved in return.
That's happened a lot less in my life.
Being loved in return.
A good example is like Clara. It's like she loved me to the best
As
of
much
her
as she
8-year-old
could.
ability. It's like,
But it was still not a untroubled love. Yeah. Yes. And maybe people are giving you as much as they can, babe.
I know. So it's like unfair of me to expect things of them.
I mean,
I
no
get
doubt.
it.
'Cause
I understand that now. And yeah, like with an 8-year-old, it's so much easier. It's like, yes, of course,
only
you're
8.
not going to love me. It's fine.
So when I was teaching kindergarten, I was like, oh, we're all kindergarteners.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're all just kindergarteners and big bodies with slightly more money to throw around. You know, like, but we're all just still kindergarteners.
Mm-hmm.
We've learned to, like, hide better. But everybody's still just a kindergartner. They just throw their tantrums in a slightly different way. And their fears, they like to spin them in a slightly different, like, more mature. But I mean, like, I do think that we all still, like, the things that we need, the things that we desire, the tumultuousness of interacting with other people on the playground, it's the basic stuff is still the same. So I think, I don't know. I mean, of course I want you to have everything you desire, right?
But it's okay. That's impossible.
No, it's not. Just change what you desire.
I think that's why I shut down. Like,
I can't imagine wanting to have anyone as a friend more than wanting to have you as a friend. You're like the most fantastic, giving, loving, fun, encouraging person that I know. Like, if I was ever, like, needed to get cheered up, I would go to you. Like,
that's good. I like hearing that. I'm glad. I want to.
There's no like, not even close. Like, there's no question. Like, yeah. I mean, so for me, I'm like, who are these fools that do not realize, like, how much fun you are and how sweet you are and how, like, truly loving you are and how much you appreciate and value people as who they are and not like because they fit into a mold of something that you've decided that you want them to be.
I'm just never what they wanted, I guess.
I don't think that's true. I think sometimes we don't allow ourselves to want something because we don't know it's possible to have it.
No, I think that's true.
Like if you've, never experienced something, how could you possibly want it?
Yeah. Well,
No. If you
if you don't know it's possible.
yes, if
You don't know it's possible. You have no frame of reference.
you have no conception of a thing.
Then you can't want it.
Yes.
Yes. If
You don't even have the like
idea,
emotional or physical capacity.
then I think it's possible.
Yes.
Oh.
Exactly. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm
Yes,
talking about
yes.
is like
I
if
know
you
what
don't
you're
know that the kind of friendship is available to you where you could be honest, where you could
That's because I think it generally doesn't exist.
yeah. No doubt.
And like coming off of the trip, I was like, you know what? Friends suck. I don't want friends. I'm happy
That's
with my
a lie.
family.
Were you
I'm
lying to
happy.
yourself?
I was. I'm happy with my family, and like I'm still an extrovert. I still want to see people. I love people watching. What did I do in Paris mostly? I just walked around in crowds and
Enjoyed the vibes of people.
enjoyed the vibes, like going to fashion shows and like watching this like celebrities walk in.
I cannot fathom a world in which I would ever want to do
Is
that.
so fun to me because it's like the atmosphere is exciting and there are so many people
How is it exciting?
and they're like from all over the world and you get to talk with them. Like I talked with someone in Japanese for like half an hour, maybe an hour, and it's just like I love that. But I think I was like, yeah, I can still have that, but I'm like, nobody gets any more of me.
It's because you're not willing to put your chips on the table, baby. But you're still doing
But
it.
I'm not like that. Can't be like that.
I know, you can't hold on to them.
No, I can't.
You're
like,
a gambler.
I know.
You're
In general,
willing.
I'm
You're
very
willing
anti-risk.
to keep
I
risking
like low risk, except
with
I guess
relationships.
when it comes to people. I did have some quotes I could read from
Yeah.
Gabriel.
Yeah, babe. I mean,
I don't want to spoil stuff, so I'll be
Yeah.
vague. She's about to lose something, and she sees it coming. Where do I get my inspiration? Her fingers search for something to grip, trying to hold on to the hardest thing to catch, the present. Homesickness and nostalgia will assail her months from now. No, she won't even have that long. Moments from now, this will be a story for her to tell herself, embellishing and forgetting. Reality is threatening. It makes her nauseous now. She knows that Gabriel is glass, easy to break, cutting on all his rough edges, but exquisite. She hates him. She hates him. You see, it is so much easier to hate things that hurt you. The hard part is convincing yourself it's true. In these weeks, Pain has watching him, show shadows he's sewn to the inside of his clothes and tied to his bed. There's a lot more, but we'll skip ahead. One day she will realize that there are two kinds of heartbreak. The first is familiar, pieces stolen in cruel theft, but there is another kind. Lucy was blessed with this one in her youth, often with her sister. This is the kind where your heart cannot be contained by its old walls anymore. my capacity for love crystallizes and forms a barrier, pulling through painfully into something blessedly larger. That's a spoiler, so I'll skip it. Perhaps that is why she shuts her eyes so hard now. She feels it coming. The double shots she swallowed a year ago are spread before her. She'll drink them, bitterly bitter and sickeningly sweet, as soon as he leaves. Yes, she knows everything is about to get much, much worse. And then there's a spoiler at the end, so... but I should probably read it. Why do you have to go? To find myself. There is another kind of heartbreak. It's one where the old capacity for love and pain dies. It's where you become so much more loving because you knew someone. And they brought out this side of you. And you cannot help but change as a person because you knew them. And the old breaks and can't live anymore. So it is a form of dying. But in the end, it's resurrection. And still doesn't mean it's reciprocated. So that's why it's a double shot. I think my heart got a lot bigger meeting David. I loved him in a way I loved no one else. So my heart broke to get bigger. Just as it had for so many other people. But she'll drink it. So I guess I do believe it's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all.
I mean, duh. How is that even a question? Why do people ask that?
No, I truly believed it wasn't. So many things, like, after I was like, music about love is just so dumb. I thought it was so over the top. And then, then I realized that I was wrong. I was like, how can you possibly be reminded of someone in everything? It's so possible. It's so easy. It just happens, and it's so hard to stop it. And it's like, I can't help but think about you all the time. It's like, I was like, I just made it up. It's like, I was like, that's so dumb. Of course you have other things to think about. It's like, it's possible. It's like, the love songs are more true than I thought.
Yeah, but now you're like in the club of everyone who's been heartbroken.
I never wanted to be in that club. I was like, God, can I just fall in love once? I only want to fall in love one time.
Oh my gosh.
I never ever want to tell anyone I love them, like romantically, except for one time. I'm only doing this one time.
Well, guess what? Maybe there's more for you. Maybe there's something for you that you didn't even know was possible. You hadn't even known that you could desire it.
I only wanted to fall in love once. I thought that was possible.
No, I'm talking about heartbreak.
Could I just have one?
Just one heartbreak?
Yeah, I'm happy with you. Well, I've already had more than one. So...
You're good? You're good on heartbreak
I'm
now?
good. I think I'm done. I'm tapping out. That's not how I am, I guess.
Well, the problem is that that's just not how life works. Also, you've broken some hearts. Let's just be honest. I mean, they might not have been as severe. But you've definitely not always been on the same side of...
No. Yeah. I'm sorry. I am. Can't think of anyone who's loved me as much, though.
Well, you don't even know, though.
That's true.
You have no idea.
That's true.
I mean, you're phenomenal. If I were a guy and I were, young, I'd be in love with you.
Thanks, Mom.
And you'd probably turn me down.
What? I mean...
I'd be pretty great. I mean, I wouldn't be that... Well, let's not dismiss me altogether immediately.
No. I was joking. We're gonna make a joke. But, no. Yeah.
Well.
Yes, no, I've definitely probably broken some hearts. But for me, I'm just like, well, get over me.
Duh.
It was never gonna work out between us, so...
I don't think that that's really the same, but...
What? What do you think is not the same?
I mean, honestly, like, I love David, but woof, I don't want that for you. Like, it's just a lot.
Well, here's what I've come to realize.
I mean, you want a lifetime of heartbreak? Great.
Here's what I've, realized. I do still love him, but I can't be around that. Because obviously, I think he can change. I know he can. But if that's not happening, then I can't.
Sometimes it's really slow.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of things I needed from Dad that, took a really long time.
Yeah. But I think what I'm realizing is, like, the things about him don't make it impossible for me to love him, but it does make it impossible for me to be with him. And so I'm just moving on.
You mean in a healthy way?
Yeah, so I'm just moving on.
It's always possible to be with someone. Toxically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, relationship
and I still would
is
love to
always
hang
possible.
out with him. I just meant be within a romantic relationship. Can't do that.
Because you're just taking all your chips off the table?
No. Because
yes.
This is me driving.
Oh. Yeah. Do you think you're ever going to get to a place where you put all your chips on the table again?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just try and do better next time.
I don't know, babe. I mean, if I think right now, today, am I willing to put all my chips on the table for a man that I love and that I've been married to for 20 years? I don't know. I think I haven't really thought of it in those terms. But if I do, and if I'm honest, I mean, maybe at first I did. And then I started just slyly removing things. Man, I don't know. It's hard to let someone hurt you. It's hard to say. It's hard to be vulnerable. And I feel like Dad and I do a pretty good job of being vulnerable with one another.
Well, and you're getting better all the time.
But if I think of like all of them, I mean, like the ones in my boot, too. I'm just not sure if I can shake them out of there. I might have forgotten about some of them, buried them in the backyard
I'm sure you
and
did.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta go dig them up sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I could find some more that I forgot I had.
But maybe thinking about it in those terms and being that giving and that loving is what gets us to the kind of love that we were always designed to have.
Yeah.
Because the way God loves us isn't, like, he already knows the stuff about us, so he's not surprised. There are no chips
he already
we're
put
hiding.
all his chips on the table.
And he put all of his chips on the table. So if that's the kind of love we were meant to have, then that's the kind of love I want.
Well, and here's the thing. Who are you if you don't put them all down?
You never even get to see them. You don't even know who you are fully.
Yeah, like, but if you're always holding back, you're only gonna get return. Like, even if you win,
Yeah.
you don't get what you could have gotten.
Yeah.
You know, because you held back.
I remember having this thought before I put out Indigo, I was going through all of these feelings of, like, being such a dreamer and full of hope, just full to the brim of hope.
Yeah.
And that was terrifying. I worked harder on Indigo than anything in my life before that. Like, nothing came close to what I put into Indigo.
Ugh, years. And heart and soul and...
And so I wrote a lot about, like, the pain I was feeling as a dreamer. It was like, this is crazy. Like, I'm putting so much on the table. And because I had also done acting before that. I had an agent that put a lot into acting.
Yeah.
I had been doing it for years. And nothing happened. I just did auditions. Some of them were really big.
Mm-hmm.
And it does feel like rejection over and over again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is.
Because it is. It's just like, oh, I got rejected again. That's nice. Another Tuesday. It's like, oh, let me audition again. It's like, so that's the level of, like, let me just fucking throw myself at this again and get rejected.
Yeah.
And when I started writing Indigo, I wasn't even applying to a real job. I was working actively on something that outside of me does not exist at the time because it hadn't been published, you know? It's just like in my head and on my paper. And that's a really crazy feeling. And inspired a lot of stuff.
So this podcast is really interesting. Obviously, I'm still doing it.
This podcast?
You love Your Unlovable,
Okay.
right? So, like, at first when we did it, we, like, told people about it. And then, like, there were people, you know, watching them. Like, it, like, progressively went down and down and down. And so, like, the past couple of weeks, currently, when we're recording this, like, no one's seen anything. Like, no one's watching it at all.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, 0 views, 0 listens. So, but the other day I listened to it because I need to hear, like, how I sound like I need to learn, right?
Yeah.
So I listened to it just to see how it turned out. And the other day, I do this because I have to walk every day because I have this classroom that has no windows in it, and I'm losing my eyesight, and so I just have to get outside and see actual light. So I have forced myself to take a walk every day, and I just listen to podcasts while I walk because I love podcasts. And mine was in the queue; it just like came up, and it was the short one. It was just like me reading something that I'd written, and I was like, yeah, that's right. Like that's fulfilling to me. Like to go through the experience of actually writing something and then to share it. And I think because, I was getting really frustrated because like no one cared, but then I was like, I'm not doing it for them, to do it. I love in the Bible where it says God did it for his own self. Like he did it, like he came and died for us just for his own sake. Like he didn't do it for you. I mean, he did it for you, but he did it regardless of you. Like it doesn't matter whether you accept it or reject it. Like he's still going to do it. Like you're still going to love the person, whether they love you back or not.
Yeah.
You have to, and I think that if we in ourselves can be like, I'm going to do the thing that I'm doing because this is what I'm made for. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is the thing that's going to light me up. This is what's going to fulfill me, regardless of how it turns out in the world and from other people. This is it. This is the thing that resonates with me. And so I mean, that's what I want for me. That's what I want for you. That's what I want for everybody. I think most people are like, but what's the metric? How many people are watching? Let me just make something that lots of people want to watch. Which, wow, dude, shoot me now. Like, why would I make something based on a false metric? Like, I'm just going to make something that's true. And if you like it, great. And if you don't like it, fine. Like, you don't have to like what I make.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I can't make it. Do you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's make the stuff that we really want to make.
Yeah.
Let's, as much as we can, be the people we really want to be. And then if people want to be with us, awesome. And if they don't, that's okay. Because we're just still going to be real and not lie about it. I don't know.
That experience got a lot more intense as I was writing Gabriel.
What?
Like writing Indigo was like, I'm putting in so much work, and what if it...
Oh, right. And then you were sharing like so much of your own
like, Indigo,
personal...
at this point...
Isn't really about you. Wasn't.
Oh, well, Indigo was my first work. It's like my...
But you weren't like...
Well, I was thinking more about like... Indigo hasn't gone anywhere. It's not... Like, I don't think I've had any audiobook sales ever.
That's not true. I think there were...
I can't... Like, my host dad like asked me how many books I've sold, and I couldn't tell him. Honestly, I have no idea how many I've sold. I think it's close to 0.
Relatively, yes.
And I think part of me is just shut down because it's just like, throwing yourself at another audition and you never hear back. And it's also kind of like...
But is the act of making it worth the act of
making it
done it
was completely worth it.
Yeah.
No matter what. And like... That's even more true with Gabriel.
Yeah.
Like, I would have written Gabriel under a rock.
Yeah. Make the work you want to make.
I can't write Gabriel.
Like, my letters.
Yeah.
Who cares about them? Pretty much no one. But guess what? That was like such a magical thing for me to experience and make. Yeah. And that's okay. Like, it's okay that it was just magic for me.
Well, and I think, like, I like to hope, because a corner of me is still a dreamer, is that someday the life of the work is not now. It's not happening all right now. And what we're making is hopefully going to stick around for much longer. Yeah. 25 years.
Well, you have no idea.
We have no idea.
There are people who are super popular and then 10 years later no one knows who they are.
Yeah.
And then there are people who've never sold any paintings in their life, and then everything's worth millions of dollars 100 years later.
Yeah, so I like to think that, yes, maybe, like, nobody cares about the flashcards now. Nobody cares about the art cards now. Nobody cares about Indigo now. Maybe nobody will care about Gabriel. But that doesn't mean that's the way it will always be. And we don't have to wait for that. We don't have to rely on that. But I've got some other big dreams related to our work at Night King Press. Like, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they're pretty big and sweeping. And they involve a lot of stuff. So we're working to make these dreams come true.
Well, you know, I think where
I really want to find, but sorry, go ahead.
Do you remember it?
I don't remember. I remember a part of it.
Well, I was just going to say that I think I've reached a point because, you know, obviously, like, we sold our house, we traveled around, I tried to sell my cards and the binding curriculum, and that went nowhere. But I think now I'm to a place where, you know what, I'm just going to make work that I really love making, and we'll see what happens. And I can't make it happen. And I honestly don't really want to force it to happen because then it's not real. Like if I like, you could manipulate someone into liking you.
Yes.
Would you want that person? Like, how horrible would that relationship be if you every day you're like, oh my gosh, they don't actually love me. They're only here because I manipulated them into being with me. I have to keep manipulating them for the rest of my life. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want that kind of relationship with anyone.
No.
And so, like, I don't want to convince anyone that they like my stuff. If you like, you know what I'm saying? I want a real relationship. So, like, if you actually like the stuff, great. And if you don't, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, like, make you think you like it if you don't.
Yeah.
That's why, like, okay. The, like, classic trope of, like, it was in the movie last night. Oh my gosh. Where it's like, who is the guy? The girls are like fighting over some guy. Why the hell would you ever do that? No. If the guy really loves you, great. And if he doesn't, yes, please leave. Like, if he is confused about whether or not he wants to be with you, run away. Because he doesn't really want to be with you. Why would you want to be with someone who doesn't really want to be with you? No. I'd rather be with no one than to be with someone who doesn't want to be with me.
This is what I'm coming to realize.
Like, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if we can just be honest and be like, this is how it really is. This is what's really true. This is who I really am. Take it or leave it. Mm-hmm. And you got to take it faults and all. It's not like, I promise to be a really good person. No, you don't. I mean, you're going to totally screw up. And anyway.
Yeah.
Are you going to love the person anyway? Even when it's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what love is. I love you.
I love you, Mom.
Thanks for being my daughter.
Thanks for being my mom.
Thanks for loving so purely and just, I don't know the words. I don't know that we have words for it. It's so fantastic though. And I'm excited to see, can't wait to see what happens. Yeah.
Something exciting is about to happen.
Something exciting is about to happen.
I can't wait to see it with you, Mom.
Yeah. I love you. Thanks for coming on with me. I'll have you on again.
Thanks for having me on, Mom.
We'll do a how to love your unlovable mom.
Okay.
Maybe even how to love your unlovable child. I'm kidding. You're so lovable.
Yeah, that's the other.
I'm gonna have to use one of my other children.
It's okay.
No. I was thinking of doing that with my mom.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good one.
Probably a great episode. I would happily do an unlovable child one with you, Mom.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us. I hope that all your heartbreaks are...
Both kinds. Both kinds of heartbreak.
Yeah. And I hope you do have heartbreak because...
It's great.
Yeah, it's the human experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
It bonds you to like the earthly realm in a way, and to the other people here on the earthly realm in a way that you can't experience if you don't have it. So it's okay. It's okay to get your heart broken.
You can always come back and watch this video again and again. And yeah, Gabriel's full of lots of heartbreak.
Yes.
So
I'm so thrilled.
When it's out,
The
if you want to
heartbreak
read
book.
it.
Oh, it's the goodbye. We're doing the goodbye where it's like...
My goodbye.
The Aubin goodbye.
Goodbye. Kiss, hug.
Wait,
I love
we gotta
you.
tell you one more thing.
Oh,
Also,
when am I gonna see you next? We'll definitely come up with some sort of date. We've already talked about something.
oh, but wait, I just remembered one thing.
Oh, did you get some food from the kitchen? I think there's more.
No, but really goodbye.
Okay. Bye.